Hi, everyone. This is Don Leland with Edge Management Consulting in Seattle, Washington, and you're listening to the world's #1 pest control training podcast, the Pest Geek Podcast with Frank Hernandez.
Pull out your hose and grab your can. We're about to integrate another Pest Geek Podcast. Hi, everybody. Frank Hernandez here, and welcome to the Pest Geek Podcast, bringing you the latest information on pests, products, and politics from today's leading industry sources to help you start, manage, and grow your pest control business.
Hey, welcome back. Welcome back to another edition of the Pest Geek Podcast. I am Frank Hernandez, your Pest Geek, here discussing all things pest. We want to remind our audience to join in on the revolution. That's right, join in on the conversation, be part of the society. Pest Geek Podcast Listeners Group on Facebook. And we're on YouTube, we're on the web, pestgeekpodcast.com. Check out there the notes, everything that we put into the podcast. They're all on there. And now for today's topic. I got Dennis Judy, technical consultant for EcoRaider, on the phone. Dennis, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Frank.
Hey, man. So a big fan of your product. I've been using it for a couple of years now for our bed bug service. And when I was told that you'd be interested in being on the podcast, I was elated. So thank you for being here and for, we're going to be discussing your product, which I really do love because that's our exclusive product that we use for our bed bug service. So before I get into the product and everything it does, tell the audience just a little bit about you. How did you get into this business? What have you been doing for the last 20 years since you came out of your mother's womb? What's been going on?
I wish it was that recent. I've actually been in business approximately 40 years now. I actually started my career with Orkin Pest Control up in the state of West Virginia. I had been a school teacher prior to that and found myself struggling to make ends meet on school teacher's salary, so I responded to an ad and went to work in the bug business. I spent about 18 years with Orkin. Started out treating houses, did some sales work for them. They put me in the branch management training program, and we ran about 5 different branches around the country for them, from small ones up to larger ones, out of West Virginia into New Jersey, moved to upstate New York, spent about 8 years up there actually servicing the entire 8-state New England region as a region manager for them. And then in 1992, they asked me to move to Atlanta, Georgia, to go to work in the corporate office as a technical director for the company. So after about 18 years with Orkin, I guess greener grass came along. I kind of got tired of all the flying around the country and being on work ones 4 or 5 days a week. So I landed a job with Syntex Home Team Services, which was just an upstart at the time. They had sent some headhunters my way, trying to get me to come over to them, and it was more of a localized position. So I helped them get Syntex Home Team Services up and running. I think their name now is Home Team Pest Defense.
Yes.
And after working with them for a little over 3 years, I was approached by a regional company here in Georgia, All Good Pest Solutions. It was All Good Services at the time. And they had grown to a point where they felt they needed the services of a technical director and training director. So with my background in education and quite a few years of service experience under my belt in the pest control industry, it looked like a pretty good fit. So I went to work with All Good when they only had 3 branches, and worked at All Good for about 16 years as their technical and training director. Last year, about a year ago now, actually decided to go into semi-retirement. All Good had sold the company to Rent-A-Kill, and seeing that they already had a lot of technical people on their staff, it was a good time for Dennis Judy to look at just doing some part-time work. So,
part-time work, okay.
the fine folks at EcoRaider kind of offered a position that was very part-time just a part-time technical consultant for them. And so I am semi-retired at this point and loving it. But we are now spending several days a month doing some technical things for EcoRaider and a few other folks as well related to the bed bug market. And actually dabbling here in the Atlanta, Georgia area where I live with just a small-time startup of a pest control business for my sons to take hold of. They've been wanting to start a company as well for several years. So we're dabbling in that right now too as a startup venture. So that's kind of who Dennis Judy is and where he's been, and he's been around the world, I guess. I was president of the Georgia Pest Control Association in 2011. Was named a few years later to the Georgia Pest Control Association Hall of Fame, and was pleasantly surprised to receive a Pest Control Technology Crown Leadership Award in 2016. So,
wow.
Some things that look good on the wall, but I think the really better part of it is just all the people that we've met in the industry. It feels good to teach people, show them the ropes, and watch them be successful. And that's really where you get the satisfaction out of what you're doing. So,
yeah, absolutely.
That's Dennis Judy in a nutshell.
Well, I'll tell you, it's a big nutshell. I was actually through Atlanta this last week. I was taking a vacation. I hadn't taken a vacation in 4 years, which is typical for me. I was just really overworked and testy, and I needed to just get away. And I with my wife wanted to go on a road trip, and we went on about 1,600-mile road trip over 5 days. So I got a lot of unwinding, but I was actually through Atlanta, stayed overnight there, and came through. And I hadn't been there in years. I mean, I think I've probably been, oh my goodness, since I was last in Atlanta for a conference was probably in like 96 or 97. So hadn't been there in a while. So yeah, so those are my vacations are really short. I don't get to take many of them. I think I've taken 3 vacations in my life. I'm classified as a workaholic, although I don't agree with that. But yeah, so my wife was really wanting a road trip, and we did that, and 1,600 miles to unwind. That's how long it took me to unwind. It's about 1,600 miles until we got back. So yeah, man. So now tell me about how you ended up repping a product like EcoRaider, and talk to me about that whole process. How's that been for you, and what's going on with that?
Well, again, not necessarily repping the product as much as just doing some technical consulting for them. I've been putting on webinars for them and writing some information for them. And part of what we're looking to do now is go into some field trials with a formulation actually for mosquito work.
Okay.
And, we got some lab results back on a product that has a lemongrass formulation with the EcoRaider product.
Okay.
And we're going to be putting it into the field actually this week in several PCO's hands to get some real-world feedback on how it works in the mosquito market.
Okay.
Pretty much for the repellency as well as, with contact it will knock them down, but more so to try to repel them from areas where they're not supposed to be.
Right.
So we'll see how promising that looks.
Yeah, so for people who don't know there's a lot of people in the market who don't know what EcoRaider is. Explain to us what EcoRaider is and what's the mode of action. How does it work? Because I've used it extensively and I'm really familiar with it, but I'm one of those companies that are the 1%ers. We're we're an eco-friendly company. We focus a lot on 25B products. We focus on natural products. We're very familiar with it and what it does, but a lot of our audience doesn't. And I think it is a phenomenal product. That's exclusively what we use for our bed bugs. That is for treating the mattresses, for treating the crack and crevices, for doing all that. That is our natural product that we use because of the extensive testing that is behind it that I was very impressed with. but a lot of people have never heard of it. So talk to us about what it is. Talk to us about the trial studies, the backing behind this product that is pretty impressive.
Okay, sure. Well, first of all, EcoRaider is a broad spectrum bioinsecticide. So it's made of natural ingredients, plant oils and extracts. So that's really how we're hanging our hat on it, being a botanical, which is a bioinsecticide, and it is very good and very lethal on the targeted insects that we're trying to knock down with it on contact. But at the same time, it's a minimum risk product, very safe around humans and pets. And that is because of its mode of action. Most of the products that we have today in our industry are the pyrethroids, synthetic pyrethroids.
Right.
And they work by attacking the sodium channels within the nervous system of the insects. And, of course, that would also affect the nervous systems of mammals and everything else. So EcoRaider acts in a different way. It does not attack the sodium channels in the nervous system of insects. It actually attacks a unique receptor, which is called the octopamine. And octopamine only exists in the insects and in some other invertebrates. So in the mammals, there are no octopamine receptors that it can harm. So that makes it a very, very safe product to use around non-target organisms like humans and pets. So because of this uniqueness to it, EP actually categorizes EcoRaider as a minimum risk pest control product. And it actually meets or complies with FDA's generally recognized as safe standards. So very child and pet friendly, very little sensitivity if you get it on your skin, very friendly to the areas that you spray it to. You can put it right on furniture, things like that, and very easy to use. And as far as its toxicity, again, being green, being a very sustainable product, it's not using highly toxic chemicals. We actually found that we can use it in stagnant bodies of water to kill larvae within the water. So it just has a whole package of very minimum risk attributes that help us make sure that it works very, very well as a green product with the 25B exemption given to it by EPA.
Yeah, what are the active ingredients in it?
The active ingredients, they are plant extracts, botanical type things. Geraniol, which is a plant-based oil, is one of the products. It also contains some cedar oil, and there's some sodium lauryl sulfate in there. That makes up the.
How does the sodium? Because we've discussed this before. Most people still have. I mean, I talked to a ton of people, technicians are around the country. They're not familiar with sodium lauryl sulfate in adding it to these products. And explain to people what exactly is sodium lauryl sulfate. What does it do in the product, or what does it do to control the insect?
Well, the sodium lauryl sulfate works in conjunction with the botanical oils to help deliver these to the sites that are necessary for it to be effective for a quick contact. And at the same time, because these are botanical oils, they may tend to be, if you sprayed too much of it, they may tend to cause some repellency to the specific insect. So, it gives it a bit of a different approach than just having the plant oils there by themselves.
Gotcha.
So it helps make it more effective at blocking these octopamine receptors.
Gotcha. And there's a couple of studies out on this. It's probably one of the most, I guess, what I've seen, either peer-reviewed or independent reviewed products that are tested for bed bugs, and that's majorly what I've read on that. Is there anything that you've or any studies that have come out, anything new regarding the application of this product? Because I know it's got a 14-day residual on it. We do our follow-ups based on 14 days, so it works great for us in that, and to be able to inspect and reapply if we need to. Talk to us about what's going on in the field with that and the studies, and what feedback are you getting on the product and what's been going on with it?
Yeah, and I think your particular use of it kind of speaks for itself. So it does have a extended residual for up to 14 days, dry residual effect, and that's very helpful. If you have a very, very heavy population of bed bugs out there, hopefully, as a PCO, you're very thorough in what you're doing, but certainly people can counteract what you're doing. So, carry some things in and out with them that aren't there while you're treating. So you've got something left behind in case they do introduce some more, bring them back into play, and that 14-day residual. One of the most impressive things I like about EcoRaider is the fact that it will target probably the toughest part of the life cycle of the bed bug is the egg stage. So if you can directly contact the eggs with this product, it is, I'm not going to say the only, but one of the few products I've seen in testing that has a very high mortality. It has tested to kill up to 86% of the bed bug eggs. And the best test results I've seen from any other products out there are only around 17% control in the egg stage. So that in and of itself is, to me, very impressive, and a great way to add to the efficacy of the product when you're treating for bed bugs. So, taking care of the eggs is a good deal. One of the other things that happens when you're spraying this product on bed bugs is, bed bugs will tend to stop feeding when they're affected by something. And if they stop feeding, that means they stop biting. And basically that's what you're up against when you've got a customer out there. They're getting bitten by bed bugs. So the ability of this to stop that feeding effect also is very, very influential in making a good, strong case of using it to take care of your customers.
Yeah, that's one of the unknown, for most people, mode of action of a lot of the 25B products or the minimum risk products is that they have, they're ovicidal and they're also an anti-feeding. That's a typical, mode of action, an additional mode of action. So when you're using these 25 or natural products, you're getting multiple modes of action, not just direct contact kill, which is what we find very beneficial with them. If we understand how to use them, and we understand that it's not just like a pyrethroid that has only one mode of action, or maybe two, but they have multiple modes of action. As far as anything on the OV positioning that you found with this product, anything like that?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Yeah, have you found anything additional like OV positioning or stopping the eggs, the bed bugs from depositing eggs or not wanting to deposit eggs? Any studies? Because I know it's been a while since I read. It's probably been about 2 years since I read the last studies on EcoRaider. I just don't know if anything new is out with that.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a study specifically about that, but one of the things you've got to consider is that if they stop feeding, naturally they're going to stop laying eggs as well. They need a blood meal in order to lay eggs. So It is going to have an effect on their ability to lay eggs if they're not feeding on blood. Right.
So that's one of the things that we're trying to educate a lot of people on is the multiple modes of action of these minimum risk products, that it does do more than just, because all we're used to is, well, we sprayed it and it killed it. That's what all we're looking for sometimes. And it's like, you got to look beyond that and understand what else is happening with that insect and in relationship to the product, and see why it's effective. It's not just going to kill it, but it's going to do all these other things that help in the control. And repellency is control. Most people don't consider repellency as control in some cases, but it is a mode of action. Repellency, if the insect isn't there, it can't it can't reproduce, it can't bite, it can't do what it does. So exactly. Yeah, so we're looking at all of this.
It stops it from doing the damage that you got called for in the first place.
Right. So and so talk to me, because you just mentioned that you're working on a new product, or EcoRaider's working on a new product that you're testing for mosquito, and you said it was lemon. It had lemongrass in it. Talk to us a little bit.
Yeah, it has a lemongrass formulation of the EcoRaider product, and it has tested out in the lab against some of the biting mosquitoes, and of course everybody knows that is becoming one of the big concerns in the world.
Right.
Other product that we're working with is a lemongrass oil formulation that contains the geraniol plant oil, but it also has some peppermint oils in it, and the sodium lauryl sulfate in the mixture. And we're really looking at it from the standpoint of trying to be more repellent. It will kill on contact, but pushing for repellency to just keep mosquitoes out of the environment where it's being placed. So it's proven to work well in the laboratory assays right now, and we are just getting ready to get it into the field for some field trials this upcoming week. It should hit several PCOs around, and that have agreed to do some field testing with us on it. And we should have some news about that then in a few months as to how it's working, and help us get our arms around what we need to do as far as dilution rates to make it effective, and see if it's something else we can add to this good list of 25 of the exempt products.
Yeah, well, no, I am really happy with it. I think it's not a widely used product right now, but I think that as this market matures, I believe where the 25E market is really in an infancy at this point. As it matures and more people become familiar with the products, learn how to use them, and the market demand for them increases, I think we will see more and more products like this developed in the marketplace, which is really exciting. It really is to do something.
And I think you hit the nail on the head there. I believe that PCOs are actually hearing from their customers nowadays that the more and more they get educated, the more they're asking for these green type products to be used.
Right. Yeah. And it just has to come with it's a huge learning curve. It was a huge learning curve for us to learn how to use them, to learn how to educate the customer on the way these products work. And it isn't like buying organic carrots. You don't just get to switch instantly from one to another. There is a learning curve on the customer. The customer goes to the store and buys stuff off the shelf, and buys shampoo that is organic, and buys soap that is organic, and buys their vegetables. And we have to show up and actually kill something that is also alive and doesn't want to die. So we're having this battle, and I get this is what we market, this is what we sell. We're very familiar with how to sell this, because we've doing it for the last 7 years, and education is our biggest job on helping the client.
It sure is.
Helping the client understand that it isn't an instant fix for anything. Even with synthetics, people want instant fixes. I mean, they waited forever for the problem to have, and then they want somebody to solve it overnight. And it does take, but it is if people are patient. And my clients are the vegetarians, yoga people, and they have the patience, and they understand, and they're willing to wait and do more services, which sometimes is required with a lot of these products, is more services. and the cost does go up. And it's right now, I believe, with the diffusion of innovation, I think we're really in the introduction stage of this, where the price and all that, it's a top 1%er game for a lot of people, and that very few people can actually afford it, because the products do require more applications, more services. They are more expensive to produce, and stuff like that. But I think as the market matures, and I think we're going to see this. I really truly believe this is the future. We banked our business on it, that this type of business, this type of product is going to be the future of pest control. And a lot of people don't want to hear that, but the reality is that I think for most it will be there. It'll be a lot of bread and butter.
Well, I totally agree with that. And, I tell folks, we've been talking about IPM for the entire 40 years that I've been in the industry. And we give a good lip service, but do we really utilize the principles of IPM? And I would say we haven't really embraced it, but I think we're kind of being, I don't want to say forced, but nudged in that direction now, where it's becoming more and more important, not just spraying to get rid of everything, but, integrating a tool like one of these 25B products like EcoRaider into our treatment regimen, our IPM program, and doing the other things that are necessary along with it to make it effective. And there is a market for that out there, and people will pay for that.
Absolutely. And that's the biggest fallacy I keep hearing from a lot of people, even in my own market. When I told everyone, and I was marketing and doing ideas to start an eco-friendly pest control company where we focused on using 25B products, and we're pushing that out, everybody told us we were crazy. It can't be done. Nobody will buy it, and here we are 4 years later after a rebrand, and we're thriving. I can't keep up. We're working some seriously long hours trying, but the biggest challenge is hiring people that understand what we're doing and love what we're doing and have a passion for what we're doing, versus saying, we're just going to go in and spray everything. And those are the challenges.
Right.
Those are the real challenges. And I think,
well, they are. And I think one of the things, Frank, that we haven't touched on right now either is, there's a resistance problem with products that are out there today as well. Most of the things that a PCO has available are the pyrethroids, synthetic pyrethroids, and the overuse of those is leading to resistance problems, and especially with bed bugs. And if you've got a resistant strain, then you need to do something different. And because of the mode of action of EcoRaider, it's not experiencing those kind of problems. It's different, so it can help deal with those resistant strains and solve problems that your typical, really good pesticides just aren't really combating anymore. There's nothing wrong with the products; it's the bugs who've learned how to deal with it. So,
I get people ask me, and it's funny because we get, we sometimes have the same discussions with some PCOs that unfortunately haven't been trained well in the industry. And we get the same question from our clients, and says, what is the strongest thing you have to control this, as if strong was a mode of action? And we get all this all the time, and it's like, you don't understand, it has nothing to do with strong. It has to do with the way it works on the insect. And sometimes if what you're doing isn't working, and a lot of people are resisting the saying, well, I don't want to use a 25B product because I don't want to be labeled a snake oil salesman. And I think there's a stigma there with people resisting, technicians in the field resisting to even try it, because they think it's some type of, holistic mumbo jumbo that doesn't work. And I tell people, look, do the research, because I invest in products that have the research backing. And one of the things that impressed me about it before we tried it is all the research that is behind EcoRaider that a lot of the other 25B products in the industry don't have. And that's one of the things that we're telling people is, look, try it, but it is a learning curve. It is, but you're going to be impressed. And since we use the Rutgers method of bed bug control with the traditional steaming and vacuuming and all that, EcoRaider works great because then we can apply not only a minimum amount of chemical, we're using also a minimum risk product. And we've had zero callback problems when we do it this way. It is labor intensive. And I know the mentality in the industry is chemical is cheaper than labor. And I understand that. But we have a brand promise that we make to our clients, and this is what we sell, and our clients are willing to buy it. And since they're willing to pay.
Well, I know before I retired full scale from the industry, we were probably one of the companies in the Atlanta market that everybody called on. We had other pest control operators sending their customers to us because they didn't understand what to do with bed bugs. And like you said, it was labor intensive, but we had crews that were trained properly to go out and put in all this physical labor that was required to do all the IPM aspects of it, and then not rely just on pest control applications to be the savior. The folks that tried it that way, the people that were trying to utilize just the chemical approach only on bed bugs were finding out that the callbacks were killing them, and their customers weren't happy, and they were the ones that in turn were turning their business over to us. And there is some labor intensity in doing it right, but we felt pretty certain that when we walked out of the structure, we were not going to have to go back.
And I think that's the key. And they're like the saying. I think there's a saying in the cowboy business: there's a saddle for every horse, and there's a seat for every butt in the car business. This is one of those where we get calls all the time, people buying $35 services and thinking that because the guy comes in and sprays, he's been spraying their house every month and they still got bed bugs. And I'm saying, you're never going to solve that problem. It's going to be really expensive, and it's going to be time consuming, and this is what it's really going to cost. And they're still insisting on, well, there has to be a chemical out there. I mean, all these chemicals say they kill bed bugs. And I think that the pressure from the market, it's always been that way. The customer demands one thing because they think, they know more about bugs than we do, and they'll.
Well, it's the way we've always done it.
Exactly, and like I said, there is. I believe inherently that there really is no bad product in the industry. It has to do with, I got people all the time, customers call me and saying, I've been using Terral, and it kills these little ants, and all of a sudden. It's not working anymore. Terral's not working anymore. I says, there's nothing wrong with Terral. It's the ant changed its feeding habit, and you're feeding it sugar, and it doesn't want that. And people don't understand in the industry what entomology is. They don't understand mode of action. They don't understand insect biology, and it's just a chemical mentality that's out there. That there's going to be a magic chemical that's going to solve all our problems, and you hit it on the head. It has to do with really understanding IPM. And even IPM, as long as it's been preached for, 4 decades in the industry, I can ask, so I can lift up my hand in a room of 100 clients, and probably maybe one has heard about IPM. So even in the industry is not a marketable term, and people don't understand it. And it's the glorification of the chemical that has taken place. And I think that's where if we can figure out how to educate the masses on this, which is what we're doing with our podcast, we're really trying to figure out how we educate the end user now on this, because we have to create an intelligent client that demands. I mean, I remember what is it? What was it? Cy Sims. You remember Cy Sims from Sims?
Does not ring a bell.
Clothing is. Okay, well, he was from New York, and he was really big in Miami, and he used to own a chain of retail clothing stores. And he said, the educated consumer is our best customer, and I think that still rings true today. That we have to try to figure out how do we educate the end consumer on what real pest control is, not what they think it is, not picking up a can and hosing down a kitchen. That's not pest control. And if we can figure out how to do that collaboratively.
Well, I think I think the folks at EcoRaider have seen that, and there is an attempt being made there. I know I've done a couple of them that are directed not only to, I believe the folks at EcoRaider are recognizing that we do have to educate the folks out there, and it's part of the reason that they're using me as a consulting mode. We've done some webinars to help educate the public. Make it available to them as well as the pest management professional, and try to get everybody to understand just the things that we've been talking about today and why it's important. So I think that is a part of the learning curve and a part of the ongoing need to meet the future needs of really our industry.
No, I totally agree. And, as far as what we can do as a podcast to bring this to the forefront and be, we're looking to lead that way of reaching the mass audiences, that to help them understand what a real pest control company is, to differentiate themselves, what real pest control is versus what they think they're getting, what IPM really is, and we need to figure out a more marketable term for IPM to be able to really help, especially the small companies that are using a lot of these products, really excel. And that's where my heart has been for a while. I think that as we get together in the industry and come up with creative ways to remarket what we do, because we have a black eye in the industry, and I keep saying this.
Well, and I think it goes back, Frank, to I've actually had customers call and say, "Do you do green pest control?" And I'll say, "Sure." What is green to you?
Right. Yeah, exactly. What does that really mean?
Everybody has a different feel for what they want. So, we need to meet their needs. And
we need. Yeah, that's so. We're going there. We're getting focused on that, trying to help everybody in this industry, help raise up the industry to some new standards and things that are happening and changing appetites in the marketplace, and confronting all this that's coming for us. And I think those of you that have been there in the past and have seen the evolution of pest control for the last 50 years have a lot to offer to where we are going and where this industry is going, and see the vision and embrace it, because you can kick against it all you want, but at the end of the day, the marketplace is the marketplace, and the marketplace will dictate what the marketplace wants. And if more people are demanding eco and green, then I think the companies that are kicking against the goad are going to get bloody and really not, get into this 21st century of what we're doing or where pest control is going. And that's how I see it. I see a lot of kicking against that goad, and I think we need to figure out how we're gonna get that going.
Well, I think together we can push things in that direction. So,
yeah. Well, Dennis, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say we're just looking at a way to try to be as effective as we can be. We know that our product is effective. It kills the adults. It will kill the eggs, and becomes a part of a total program. It's not a standalone by any means, but people are concerned about being safe. So we know that this is very, very good around children and pets and birds and even fish friendly. We've actually put the product in bird baths and, killed off the larvae from the squirrels that are in there. But have not had any problems as far as I know. We wouldn't want somebody going out to fresh water and using it by any means. But in stagnated water, they're very friendly to those kinds of applications. And, of course, green is what people are looking for, and it certainly meets the criteria for being a green product with its botanical actives and the way it's formulated.
No, absolutely. So, the best way for anybody to get a hold of the product, is there a website or information for people to look at it, order it?
Yeah. Folks can go to EcoRaiderUSA.com.
Perfect. Yeah, I think they should be.
And get more information about the product and check with your local distributors. They should be able to get it.
Yeah, I know here Univar carries and we order it through them. And a lot of the online distributors have it too. So yeah, it's readily available. Great product.
Yep. No problem.
Hey, Dennis, it's been a blast, man. Thank you so much for being on the podcast and taking the time to talk to us. Well,
thanks for the opportunity, Frank.
I agree.
We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, sir. You have a great one, and we should be able to get this podcast, I think, up today. So I'll send you a link on that, and you can go ahead and share it on your guys' social media and whatever you want to do with it. Go ahead and share it so that people know about it, and it's a great opportunity. So thank you so much. I greatly appreciate it.
Okay. Have
you
a good
too, sir.
day.
Take care.
Bye.
We hope you have enjoyed this edition of the Pest Geek Podcast. Until next time, have a pestacular day.
Thank you for listening to the Pest Geek Podcast. If you have enjoyed the Pest Geek Podcast, please give us a rating, write a review, or subscribe to the channel. You can join the Pest Geek Society by visiting pestgeekpodcast.com. Thank you for listening. See you next time.